Hey guys, Infidel 1258 here. Today we're going to talk about the new Rebellion card art, as well as some of the amazing new features coming to Splinterlands when Rebellion launches. Also, we dabble with the conversation around land and how that's been revolutionized really in a big way artistically since Splinterfest. And then we talk about factions, which is a big new part of where the game might go and how it might evolve. If you don't know about factions, you definitely want to stick around, stay tuned, like, and subscribe, guys. Have an amazing day. There was something on Twitter that I shared from Splinterfest that I didn't get a chance to get into at all yet, except for just to tweet about it. And I'd love to take a couple minutes, if you're okay, to chat more about that. I want to talk about, well, really, it's kind of two different issues altogether. But let's start here. We saw some of the new monsters from Rebellion that are going to come out, and
yes,
they are crazy, and some of these stats are like absolutely bonkers. But I mean, from an art standpoint, they're stunning. They're totally different than what we're used to, and then skins are different, and the frames are different, and stats are different in a big way, and tons to talk about there, and I haven't done a video on that yet. So can you see the screen right now?
Yes.
So the three that they showed five, I think, but the three that really grabbed my attention were these ones: Executioner Kron, with 9 mana cost, 6 melee damage, life leech, death blow, and giant killer. So potentially 6 mana, and this is we learned about the new meters, like power meter, level meter, that is on the card. I think this is a good idea, because it is true that it's quite confusing. If I tell you I have a level 4 monster, you don't know if that's a great level or if it's a terrible level. If it's a legendary, it's the highest possible level. If it's a common, it's pretty mediocre. With this new sort of bar system, you're going to see really clearly, this card's an epic, and it theoretically could get up to level 6, and I'm like, I'm like better than half, and so on and so forth. I think it's really clean, and I think it's gonna be very helpful. But with that in mind, this is a max level Executioner Kron, and all these stats are up for change, but potentially, like, this is so crazy. 6 would turn into 12 with giant if it was a giant, and then 12 would turn into 24 because of death blow if it was a last monster who happened to be a giant, and you would presumably extract 12 life from that impact because of the life leech, which is so friggin' crazy.
Yeah, that'd be insane.
They gotta but I mean, they'll change these things. But what did you think about these?
Way.
What did you think about these things?
They put him in the game. They'd have to change Executioner as a Kron,
something like that.
Yeah, he's way too powered as is. But I love the art direction. I love.
Me too.
I love that it's really more like this is the character, or this is the combatant, and less about this is a card.
Yeah, totally.
And I like that. It's like, we're almost on the cusp of them being able to step up out of the 2D space.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, these look like modern day video game characters. Like I could see these being in like a AAA title that I would play on my PlayStation 5. And maybe it's a battler, maybe it's like a RPG. I don't know. Like they look really friggin' cool. And they almost certainly are going to change the stats. That's easy enough to manipulate or whatever. But man, the art direction is so huge and amazing. I love one of the things that even as like a veteran Splinterlands player, that I don't love about the modern cards, like the current cards, is the distinctions between certain decks. Like I literally only recently learned how to differentiate neutral from life. Sometimes they are like very similar looking, And
Right.
like maybe 2 months ago, Jim told me like the little emerald in the center tells you that's a life symbol, and the neutral is the like the two swords or whatever. But
Hmm.
I mean, if I'm making that mistake, other people are too. And this is a great card, and so is the life card. And then even the death card can sometimes be kind of a gray card.
Right.
And so, and then gladiators too, man. Gladiators can be particularly confusing with that because they are. Hang on a second. There they are. Like they're all gray. The framing is gray on every one of them. And yeah, you can look at the logo, but I didn't know that until very recently. And so this is not very distinguished. And sure, there's like a slight coloration there, but like life is, anyways. I just don't think these are deeply distinguishable in the same way that these cards are, and I think that's a huge benefit to newer players who are trying to understand and adopt our game. So I'm pumped about these, about the art direction. I'm pumped about the style, and I think this is like it's going to sell well. Like I think they look really professional. When you put this against some of the old alphas, man, betas, even some of the more, not too old reward cards, these are kind of ridiculously better. And
Yeah, I agree.
yeah, go
I
ahead.
definitely agree. And I got to get through the last bit of the editing, but I had an interview with Street Streams while we were at Splinterfest, and they asked me what my view of what Splinterland's future was, and so I won't get into all of it, but basically I was talking about I see it going into like a full on MMO or like MOBA style contest where these are living breathing characters that are actually doing combat,
Dude,
and it's just great from the content that they shared, how much closer we're moving in that direction. So I'm bullish on Splinterlands.
dude, sign me up for that game. I would love that idea. Like, picture these characters. This could be like League of Legends, or like, Overwatch. And these are your Splinterlands cards. And you have to, like, level them up, or you have to buy them, or you whatever. Maybe it's something like, I've heard about other games. I don't know the names of them anymore, but there are online games right now that you can earn NFTs and cryptocurrency, and you do like something, you do kind of like fighting, brawling, top down.
Right.
And but this could be like a full out AAA title.
Hmm.
And yeah, you could be like, each one of you fills a role. Like League of Legends, you get like healers, you get tanks, you get, I think they're called junglers, and you get support heroes also, and you're all filling a certain role. And if you do your part well, the team, you conquer more and more of the map and win. And
Exactly.
I totally agree. That would be epic and amazing, and I would empty my wallet. And then I also, with the art in mind, I wanted to talk a little bit, and maybe just a couple more minutes, like 10 more minutes or so, a bit about the land, because we saw, like, I don't even have it here. I think it was on my YouTube. Somewhere I posted the land artwork, and it looked friggin' amazing. And are you invested in land, or what are your thoughts on land? And did you see the artwork when they showed it at Splinterfest? Thoughts, comments?
Yes. Yes, I had a chance to see the artwork. I thought it actually looked great, and also was happy to hear, they still going with the idea that the soul land is only going to be a small portion of the entire land. And so the rest of the land is left for conquering, for discovery, for random encounters, etc. I thought that was very interesting. Me personally, um, land has always been kind of like a luxury
Yeah.
kind of investment, and
Hmm.
so I've been watching it. It's dropped down, and there's at times I wish I wish I could would have bought some a little bit sooner.
Hmm.
But my plan is I think I'm gonna sneak in and try and make a buy here soon and get in on it because I do think there's a ton of potential for it.
Yeah.
And I just think it brings a lot of utility to the game in a different way of managing the investment. But one thing for certain, there is definitely not enough cards. If land is what they say it is, there's definitely not enough cards.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I agree with everything you said. You know, it is a luxury investment, and if you don't have your deck sorted out, sort the deck first, and then also, um, um, but it is still exciting. And even if you maybe feel like you don't have 2 feet planted on your deck building, you might feel like, well, I feel pretty confident, like I'm 1 foot good, and then I kind of want to go over here and dabble a little bit because it is exciting. And land, I realize now I didn't put up any of the land photos that I took from the Splinterfest. I took photos of it and I just held them, and I was planning on doing a video of it, talking more about it, because it looked amazing. Like, and to hear him say, Nate said, we are closer than anyone thinks. And then that it's not so much when land anymore. It's like land soon. And
Yeah, land soon.
yeah, dude, I'm
I
so
was like,
friggin' pumped.
man, speeding up my clock. I'm feeling the FOMO now.
Yeah, he really did too, man. Yeah, and me too. And I'm not just land, but man, Rebellion, Chaos Legion, not just be like
Oh,
the air.
12.
Yeah,
Just to stop you for a second,
yeah.
there was a question in the chat, and you bring up Rebellion. Necro asked, "Do we know what the three icons on the top right
We do.
of the Rebellion cards are?"
We
Could
do.
you flip back over to those?
Yeah.
That was a great question.
Yeah. Rate. Let me see if I can zoom in a bit. Shit. Can I? No, that's about as close as I can get. But yeah, they're right there under. So you get your splinter icon there. This is obviously a Earth Splinter card, and that's why the green behind it too. By the way, that's earlier I was saying how distinguished they are. It's so clearly green. It's so clearly fire. It's so clearly death. But then, so you get your splinter, and then you get these three little. They're called factions, and this is actually kind of up for debate. They're trying to figure out if they want to do this. But dude, Necro, this sounds hugely amazing and like so next level for the game. Because right now what we do, we play. You either play Earth or Death or Fire or whatever. You pick your splinter, and maybe you get a couple neutrals in there. And if you did Dragon, you get the synergy of Dragon, neutral, and a third summoner, or sorry, a third splinter. But with this, what you would do is each of these would represent some sort of detail, like a lore. Think of it like a lore identifier for this specific card. So I don't know how to say his name, so I'm going to focus on Nomos here. Nomos has 3 different factions, and Kron has 3 different factions. Every card would theoretically have 3 different factions, and maybe one of them is human, or maybe one of them is, think of Splinterlands like dwarf. Think of other Splinterlands like names, like ant. There's a bunch of different ants, or
12.
yeah,
I think they mentioned it was something like they'd have like a race.
yeah.
It'd have like a class, and then like a I don't know, maybe like a personality or something like that.
Yeah,
And I thought that was really neat too. And one, because I think the lore really needs to matter more in the game.
yeah,
And so I feel like that'll be a real good reason to kind of understanding the lore. But I think it also would change your card pairings if it wasn't just about their relative attack and strength.
yes,
If you get 3 of those guys together,
that's right.
that's very powerful. But you got this other clan here who is their natural weakness. What
Yeah,
happens if you just I think that really kind of changes the gameplay quite a bit.
dude, yes. Like maybe Efreets are, when you get two or three of them together, they get bonuses to attack or bonuses to speed or bonuses to hit points. That's the idea, Necro, that synergies amongst your faction would maximize your potential for winning somehow. And they didn't say what I just said. They didn't say three of them would equal bonuses or something like that, but that was implied that there would be synergies that would exist, not just between like, oh, you're a fire card, but now you're actually within the fire realm. You guys are, this thing, and then other benefits or nerfs to your opponent could potentially unlock.
But what if like you were saying, like the three monsters, but
Yep.
let's say you get like three fairies and they get +1 speed.
Yeah.
What kind of crazy teams could you put together with fairies?
Exactly. Exactly.
But then and so you could just make fully speed lineups, and
Yeah.
then and I think that changes your how you look at cards like Kitty,
Yeah.
because it's like is speed really necessarily what I need to focus on if I can already boost my speed because I already have these fairies.
Exactly. And Butter said that they have the Dampier qualifier like category. They have the Efreet. They have the Jinn. They have Angelic, Humanoid,
Yeah,
Abomination. These are all like
my Pellicors,
yeah, the Pellicors.
definitely.
We already have the framework of the beginning of this kind of subdivision within these factions, and that artwork that you guys were asking about is the representation of how that'll be depicted. So you'll see, we'll come to know what that icon refers to and what that one refers to, and so on and so forth. And you'll be thinking, I'm building a fire team, so I got to do my tank and my supports, my healers, etc. But then you'll also simultaneously be thinking, if you've got the capacity, the brain power, and the cards to choose from, you'll be able to unlock additional benefits by utilizing those. And we got to say, he was quite clear that like this is not for sure yet, but it seemed like it was. It seemed like he wants it, but he also wanted to know what we what we felt about it, because if I had to guess, and I'm reading between the lines on what he said and didn't say, it seemed to me this is a ton of work, and probably Matt is like, wait a second, that's going to be like, how are we going to make sure it's not overpowered? So I think this is one of Nate's dreams. He wants to see it happen, and he wants us to be pumped about it. But it could fall apart, is the way I read it. And specifically, it sounded like one of the concerns or barriers would be like, navigating it and making sure that it didn't break the game, in some respects. So, but yeah, I mean, this is something that happens in Lord of the Rings Living Card Game, and I love that game. The humans have certain spells that they can bring in, whereas dwarves have other things, and elves have altogether something else. And this armor can't be worn by you if you're not a dwarf, etc. And so those sorts of, man, I love that. That sort of, it lends to deck building this huge degree of complexity that's so much fun to navigate. And I've spent
Yeah.
hours online researching deck building for Lord of the Rings Living Card Game because of the nuance that was created by way of this sort of same idea. And so, man, oh God, that excites me. Any other thoughts on that? On those factions, or did we miss any part of it that you think we need to mention about?
No, I think you're right on there, and that's what I love about it, is I think it one changes the game, and I think it makes the game, adds more depth to the game.
Yeah.
And I think that in order to like give these characters life, I think that there needs to be a bit of depth in the game. And once we progress to the level of depth where they have to be three-dimensional, I think it's going to be amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, and Eli says it sounds like a lot of work like back work to add factions to all the old cards too. And you wouldn't necessarily have to have every card having factions per se. If you looked at something like Lord of the Rings Living Card Game as an example, there's been an evolution and a progress to the introduction of that. And so you might find that if they don't have this distinct factions already laid out, they might already be able to use, like Butters pointed out, Dampier or Angelic or Pellicor, like Aga was saying, and so on. We've starting to see that already, and so, and then maybe some of them don't. Maybe what about flying monsters? What about thorns monsters? What, you know what I mean? Like, you could see those becoming part of the story if you really felt every card had to have this faction. But maybe it'll be a case where it's more of a modern league thing at one point, and it's not really a wild thing. And who knows? But if they bring it in, it would be a lot of fun to navigate and play through, and yeah, it would change almost everything.